Love. One of those things that you just can't seem to get away from. Whether you're growing older or whether you're growing younger, it doesn't matter. Marriage is a little bit of a different step for black gay men. Not sure if many actually really care about it or even just simply thought about it. Whether it's the option to stay committed or whether the option to be married. Something we're exploring in the next couple of minutes. Stay tuned. Brothaspeak Podcast, here we go. Welcome to Brothaspeak, where we talk about black LGBT issues and topics. I am your co-host, Chris, and what we actually come here to talk about today, marriage. To be or not to be. What we actually did with this particular podcast, we interviewed two couples, one by the name of Maurice and Demetrius, as well as also Dwight and Richard. And this should be a very interesting topic because we actually took this interview from two separate couples, one couple being practically together for almost 15 years and the next over 24 years. One's a little bit more in their 40s and the other one, well, they're in their 60s and they decide to get married. So I want to basically give this podcast where people could be able to decipher whether or not to get married. Learn about what it is, what it really takes to be in a marriage, what it really takes to be in a relationship, as well as also what it truly takes to make it work. Marriage may not be for everybody, but also marriage can be for some. So this is where we actually present the interview. We definitely take the time to appreciate those couples who actually interview with us, along with myself and your fellow co-host, Ricky. Take it away, Ricky.
So I guess first of all, I wanted to thank you two for allowing us to be able to come into your home. So the first thing I guess we can do is just have you two introduce yourselves to the audience.
Maurice.
Demetrius.
So tell the listeners how long you've been partners. Maurice.
14 years, going on 15 in October. And no death yet. Go figure.
Between you two?
Not that he hasn't tried.
No cyanide in nobody's drinks.
No,
I know, right?
No antifreeze.
I was about to say it's going to be antifreeze.
Okay,
make sure.
You see, they thought about it, though. They thought about it.
There's a plan.
I'm going to catch him on this.
I'm just saying.
So tell us your version of how you two initially met.
We were in Pittsburgh back in 2001. And it was Halloween night. We were at actually was the biggest gay club in Pittsburgh. It was there for years. It was called Pegasus. So I was dressed as an Indian. It was about,
I have photos.
It was about 30 degrees. I'm pretty much naked. You know, I'm just in there. Everybody's having a good time. I see this tall caramel person walking by. Thought he was kind of sexy. Thought he was straight initially.
Oh.
And because we used to have straight guys that would come with their female friends or girlfriends or whatever. So, you know, I thought he was straight initially. Saw him walk by one direction, saw him walk by another direction. I was like, okay. So then he sort of came up and stood close to me. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll just start dancing, see if I can get his attention. That worked.
Of course. That always works. If you do it right, it always works.
Well, it helps when you're half naked, too. And then I started talking to him. Basically went up and said, is it that bad? Because he looked like he was evil, like something was hurting him or something. So that was it. The rest is history.
Demetrius, when you first saw Maurice, what went through your mind? What were you thinking about?
Well, I didn't realize who he was when I first saw him. And then when I realized exactly who he was, I thought he was with this big muscular guy, which turns out to be
one of my best friends.
His best friend.
We were together.
When you saw one, you saw the other.
Wow.
You know, him and his brick wall. He's a big muscular dude. He like Spider-Man against the Incredible Hulk.
How long did it take before you both decided, I would like to be in a one-on-one with this person? How long did it take?
For me,
a short time.
For me, it took a while. I was never good at relationships. People usually get on my nerves after the first
30 seconds.
I would venture to say 6 months, but that's kind of stretching it too. So I wanted to go slow. I did like him. Thought he was a good dude, but I didn't want to rush into it because I didn't want it to get to a point where it's like, oh God, I can't stand to talk to this person. And then I have to go through the whole process of letting them down and saying, oh, it's just one of those things. I'm just tired of you.
Oh wow! I thought it was going to be a gentle speech, but
No,
like
It's not you, it's me.
exactly because that's the typical speech. It's not you, it's just me, and I'm trying to find myself.
He already knew I had found myself, so that was a complete fabrication.
Oh wow!
It was kind of, sort of, could be. No, it was just like, yeah, I'm not into this right now, and if we ever get to that point, because we were just supposed to be booty calls. Like, if we ever get to that point, I'll let you know. And I was very adamant about dating Mr. Weston, and he was having none of it at the time.
I wanted to make sure that I didn't jump into anything because I was having fun. We were 21.
In terms of dating, people date for different reasons. Some date just for the hell of it. Some date because they want to find that booty call. Some date because they're looking for, the one. So, I mean, what was your Maurice, your opinion? Or where were you in dating at that point?
For me, I wasn't in a dating headspace. So it was more so and plus, me having booty calls and dating were two different things. Mm-hmm. Dating is someone that I'm interested in. Booty call is a booty call. You don't date a booty call.
Because that's a mistake. That can lead into so many wrong places when you do that.
Right. They are very different things in different categories.
Purposes.
So, I always categorize the relationships that I had with people, and they very rarely went from one thing, one category to a next one.
That's very smart.
So, initially, I like to tread lightly, but he was intriguing. He was nice. A little overly nice sometimes, but yeah, I mean, it kind of grew, and then my friends started seeing a change. I was talk about him a lot more, and they're like, oh, well, who is this person?
Yeah, they want to know. Then
right.
Once the friends want to know, you really have to make a decision as far as who this person is.
Because I was always pretty non-emotional, so it was very easy for me to shut off the emotions and just leave it be what it's supposed to be. So when the emotions started to come into it, they're like, well, who is this?
Conversation we had initially about just being booty calls, it kind of just threw me off. It was like, you don't want to date me? It was like, yeah, I'm not in that space right now, and it's like it just kind of threw me off. It's like, what?
So you're the one who you're the dater.
I was,
the one who dates with a purpose.
Yes, the whole purpose was to be with him for however long it lasted. And the initial attitude was like, it may not be that long. It just, I might just be kicked to the curb. But, when you move to a different city and you find someone, that you're attracted to, you kind of latch onto them. And that's kind of what it did. And he said I was overly nice because I was overly nice. And I still am to this day. But
with him, it's different. He just gives people the benefit of the doubt, and I doubt the benefits.
Okay, so Maurice, what was it that about him in particular that made you finally give in?
Well, I mean, aside from the physical, everybody's always attracted to physical. I don't care what they say.
Exactly.
Because anything else, oh, he's a nice person. Well, you can have a nice person. That doesn't mean you want to sleep with him.
Exactly. There has to be an attraction. There has to be an attraction.
There has to be the physical attraction in order for it to go
anywhere. That's what we see
anywhere.
initially.
Aside from that, and once I got to know him, like I said, he was a nice guy, quiet, kind of kept to himself, but in the right environment, the right circle of friends, you saw the personality come out, and it was engaging, and I liked that part. So so I mean, it was something that I kind of got drawn into, and figured, okay, well, I was sort of playing the field at the time, let him know, let the other person know. Whenever I was dating, I always clued people in because
it's the right thing.
That whole, hey, yeah, you're exclusive to me, sort of. No. So he knew what was going on, and actually at the very beginning, I put everything out on the table and told him what I was willing to give up as far as dating someone would go and what I wasn't willing to give up. And past experiences sexually and, all that. Just so we were on the same page and so there's no surprises anywhere down the road. And you're like, well, you didn't tell me that. Well, you might not have needed to know at the time. But I just put it out there because I figure if you're grown enough to do it, you're grown enough to just talk about it.
So, Demetrius, what was it about Maurice that made you just say, you know what?
He was my exact opposite on everything. And
so the statement opposites attract is different.
To an extent. But at the same time, it was kind of a turnoff because it's like, knowing that he was an artist, it was like they're in a different headspace than most people.
Yeah.
And,
Very creative.
Exactly. The creative processes, that you would have to get used to in dealing with someone that's more in their head than it is out in the world. It just kind of threw me off. So it's like, okay, well, it's more intriguing, but at the same time, I don't know. So I was like, I'm going to just take a leap of faith. And in the long run, here we are today.
Look at you now.
And we're still together.
Until I get that insurance policy.
Dwight and Richard.
Dwight, if you want to tell the listeners how long you've been married.
We've been married for 2 years, but we've been together for 24.
Wow.
24 years.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a long time. Richard. Okay, Richard. Sorry. We'll edit that.
How about you just give us your version of how you initially met?
I just happened to be on a business trip in Washington, D.C. and decided to go to one of the local drinking establishments for a happy hour. And Dwight came in, and I looked at him and I said, that's the kind of guy I'd like to meet. He came over, sat next to me. We had a very nice conversation, found out we had a lot in common, and the rest was history.
Really? Dwight, do you see that same version?
Kind of.
This is the way it usually goes. Every couple they have their own version of how they met. So Dwight, you give us your version.
Okay. I was living in Virginia, and I had business to tend to in Washington. So I drove up to Washington, and I did go to the bar, and I saw Richard in there, and I said, I think I'll have that.
Okay.
So I went to work on it.
Oh my goodness.
So that actually does kind of lead into my next question. So people, they date for different reasons. So Dwight, what was your mindset when it came to dating at that point? Because you were just thinking about just having what was on the menu at that particular time when you met Richard. What was your mindset when it came to dating?
Well, after we talked, I realized that he and I lived in different places. I was living in Hampton, Virginia, and he was living in New Jersey. So it was, at that time, I just thought that, hey, this is just a hookup.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And then we, kept talking, and then we decided to make trips and meet halfway to visit each other. And so eventually, I got out of the military, and I decided, well, I haven't lived up north in a while, so let me move back up north.
Really?
Yeah.
To be closer?
Yeah.
Wow. So Richard, what was your mindset when it came to dating when you first initially met Dwight?
Well, I met him. I liked him. Like you said, there was a distance. So I thought it was maybe just a one-night thing. I happened to be home one day, and he called and said, well, I've been thinking about you. So we decided to spend the weekend together, and then we decided to get to know each other a lot better and form a relationship. And then he moved to New Jersey. So it wasn't like I was looking for a permanent relationship at that time, but it just developed that way.
So how long did the dating continue after you initially met? Or how long did it take before you decided you wanted to be in a committed relationship, in the time frame from where you initially met to the time that you said, okay, you know what, I really like him. I want to be exclusive with him?
4 months.
4 months.
Yeah.
How about you, Dwight?
We were saying,
I would agree with that.
yeah.
That's pretty fast.
It
Or
was.
You think it's fast? Yeah.
I think it was kind of fast. Well, then again, I'm not sure exactly.
But you have to understand that at that time, we were both like 40.
Oh. Okay.
So it isn't all that the game plan that you do when you're younger. I mean, at 40 years old, you make decisions,
Right. Right. True.
And so we were mature enough to be able to make a decision and stick to it, And we wanted to have a relationship, so you have to do what you have to do to make it work.
Yeah. So what was it about Richard that was like the thing that attracted you the most to him at that point? What was the main thing that stuck out to you?
I think that he was a nerd and stable.
A nerd is so in other words, you like the intelligence.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
He's a software engineer.
Okay.
And I like people that are scientific, because you have to have someone to relate to and communicate and talk to. I mean, sex is after 6 months, there's not much new with it. Okay?
Yeah,
so it has to be something beyond the sex to keep it together.
Right.
So how about you, Richard? What was the thing that just did it for you when it came to Dwight?
He had such an outgoing, positive personality that it sort of draws you in and you want to get to know him better. He was also very helpful in that he's the kind of guy who will come to your house and fix stuff. Very handy.
Okay.
Very helpful. Very supportive. Overall, good guy.
I do see the opposite in you guys. One a little bit more calm. Other one's like, hey, let's go, let's get the party rolling. I can definitely see that. So I can. It's always the opposite attract.
Exactly.
Always. Always.
That's what I was about to say. It seems like every couple that we've spoken to, sometimes it can be like such great opposition that it's like you wonder, how do you make it work? Because it's like, okay, well, do you even like each other?
Religion. Maurice and Demetrius.
When it comes to black gay men, there's this stigma around being black and gay. And a lot of it is usually affiliated with our backgrounds and growing up where religion is concerned. So Maurice, what was your background as far as, were you in church or were you?
Nope. Religion had absolutely no factor in my growing up at all. My grandmother was a believer, she was a Christian, but she didn't throw it in everybody's face and drag us to church and do all of this and do all of that. So I had a very open childhood as far as discovering my own beliefs about whatever lies beyond. And for me, that was it was a non-factor. My uncle was actually, I just call him and his wife a Bible thumpers, because there are these uber Christians, and of course, as kind of as par for the course, they had the biggest scandal in the family. So
usually. So Demetrius, how about you?
Very religious family. Grandfather, man, always in church, usher, He was the doorman. He was, he was always there. Sometimes sleep, but he was still there. And my mother, she was a very church-going person. My aunts, they were very church-going. And, religion was one of the things that was in the forefront of everything. Especially my aunt. She's the biggest Bible thumper ever.
The one that
No,
No, not the one.
Definitely.
No. She still doesn't really care for me too much. She's another pretty outspoken one with everyone else, but she sort of fumbles her words and doesn't really know what to say.
Yeah.
To me, she called once actually. I guess she was feeling high on the spirit or something.
So she called you?
Yeah, she called.
Well, she called the house.
She kind of called to talk to me though, because we I picked up the phone, and she's like, "Oh well, how are things?" Da 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 da. I started off cordial enough, and then somehow, "Oh well, and this was after that first time when I met the family. It was actually a couple weeks after. She called, and she's like, "Well, I just want to let you know that I don't approve." It's like, well, it's funny because I don't care.
Oh my God!
Your approval isn't needed. Wasn't asked for.
Yeah.
So you calling me right now to tell me that doesn't really mean anything.
And he was sick on top of that. So
Right. I had a cold. So
what was the outcome of that phone conversation? Did it end good?
What was it gonna be? It was.
So she just called to let you know that.
Apparently, yeah, that was it. And she's like, "Oh, well, I just want to let you know." I was like, "Well, I just want to let you know."
Wow. Oh, very outspoken.
And now that we've let one another know, now we can get off the phone.
She called me after that, and I was actually in public, and it's like, I was just infuriated that she called, number one, that he was sick on top of it. It's like, you bothered that man because you didn't approve of something that has nothing to do with you. Well, I'm just worried about your immortal soul. It's my immortal soul. Let me be worried about that. And it's like, there is a passage in the Bible, you should not judge unless you be judged. She's like, well, this isn't a judgment. This is a judgment. You made a call to tell somebody about how you were feeling. That's your judgment.
Yeah, based on that opinion.
So you feel like you should tell somebody about how you feel about a situation that has nothing to do with you in any case.
Yeah.
So she's like, well, I just wanted to, okay. I'm in public. I'll call you later. She's like, well, I'm just telling you now, and I won't be talking about this later.
Fine.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye. And I was in public, so I couldn't say what I wanted to say.
Right.
Because I'm not the type of person to be in public yelling and shouting at people.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay. That was just like, me and Mom, we're still close, but we're not as close as we used to. On the other hand, at that same Christmas party where I took him, my uncle, which he was a drug, long use with drugs. He was the first person like, I endorse this. I was like, what?
Isn't that just mind blowing?
It's like,
he just randomly.
The one that
he just randomly came up to me. He was like, "I just want to let you know, I endorse you and Demetrius. I think it's cool. It's cool. I definitely endorse it." Okay, well, thank you for your endorsement.
and it's like, I went over and asked him, it's like, did you talk to my uncle? He's like, yeah. It's like, go figure, right? He's like, mm-hmm. And but that whole religious thing is like, growing up in church and seeing how people act is like, most of the time it's a turnoff.
Yeah.
Because you go by a book, and I don't know if you're too religious or not, but most of those
from the South.
Most of those stories in that book have been stolen from other walks of life,
pagan religions,
or it was written in a cave where a guy was getting high off the fumes. So if that would happen today, like literally, if this was going on today, you would think that person was absolutely nuts. Bad shit crazy. But I don't take religion away from anyone. You know, I still believe there's a higher power. I just don't know what it is. I can feel it. I can talk to it. It may not exactly talk to me, but I know that there's something out there. And to that higher power, there's always another higher power. And it, on and on and on and so forth. So it's not necessarily that I believe just in Jesus per se, because there's always been many gods.
Did you find a benefit not being religious, and did you wind up changing your ideas of religion due to your relationship?
Oh, good one, Maurice.
The benefit was I didn't subscribe to a lot of the bull that I find a lot of more religious people subscribe to. You know, they live their lives in a very linear way, and what they think is the end-all be-all is the end-all be-all to them, and that's it. Whereas, you know, when you don't have to live that way, you can take bits and pieces from basically the same stories, the same accounts from various religions all around the world, and understand that there's a different way to get to the same place, the same level of belief. And it just doesn't make sense. If there is this higher power, why would they minimize themselves that greatly? You know, it just doesn't make sense to me.
So, Demetrius?
Well, growing up in church, before I even knew history, it's like, you know, it was, you sit in a pew, you listen to the Bible, the preacher, you know, speaks at you, because it doesn't seem like he's speaking to you. It's at you, because he's telling you the word of God, supposedly. And then you go to school, you learn history, you learn, you know, the actual path that religion came from and how it became. You know, Christianity came because of a king who wanted to keep himself in power. It wasn't necessarily because of Jesus wanted to be praised, because he never wanted to be praised. It was just, you know, it just was. And people followed him because he was just that dude. Point blank period. You know, there's followers and leaders. Test of time right there. It's like, you know, you find a person, you kind of latch onto them, and, you know, when they speak, you listen. And when they're saying some stuff that you have absolutely no idea about, you say, okay, well, I'm going to find somebody else to talk to. You know, but with me and religion, it's like, you know, I still believe, and it hasn't changed a lot since I've met him, because he has a different ideology of religion. You know, it's just organized. It's like organized religion isn't for him. It's not that it isn't for me. It's just that I have a different idea of it. You know, I don't believe that my being is just going to float off into the heavens and, you know, stay there. The thing about energy, it's always moving. It's always going. So I don't think it's just going to stop for me.
Religion, Dwight and Richard.
Dwight, how were you raised in a home that was all about religion, or was it?
It was religious in the sense that my grandfather was an Episcopal priest. Okay, yeah, in Washington, and we grew up going to the Episcopal Church and learning. That was our religion. And when I got older, my father told me, he said, I was about 16 or something, just starting to drive, and he said, I think that you need to take some time and go to some churches and places of worship that your friends go to, you know, so you can get exposed to other religions other than just one.
Whoa!
You know, so on Sundays,
Very progressive.
yeah. So my whole family was on Sundays. I would get with one of my buddies or friends, and we would go to their church. You know, and then the next week or something, or the next month, I may go to another friend who was a different religion. I mean, all religions, like Muslim, Jewish, and different denominations within the Christian faith. So I got exposed to all of the different types of religions, but I stuck with the one that I had.
Wow. To hear that from a minister father, that to me.
No, my grandfather.
Your grandfather.
Yeah.
That's still very surprising. I would think that most would say, this is what it is and that's it.
Exactly, because that's the tradition. That's what we as black men were stuck. We're placed inside that box where if you grow up with a religious background, then that's what you are. You don't really deviate from that.
No, it was definitely exploration. It was all about learning things and getting exposed to different things.
So with most of us black men, the way that the religious beliefs affect who we are as black gay men.
Mm-hmm.
Did that affect you? Because you said your family is very progressive
Very,
in terms of
yeah.
The religious background.
Uh-huh.
So how did that influence you in becoming a black gay man?
Well, I don't know if my religion had a lot to do with it. You have to realize that I was married and I have a grown son now. And I met Richard after my wife had died. But as far as religion goes, the Episcopal religion is very progressive and outgoing. And I remember seeing in the New York Times, they had taken out a whole page article in the New York Times, and it said, "The Episcopal Church welcomes you, regardless of race, creed, color, or how many times you've been born." And that was a full page ad in the New York Times.
Marriage. Maurice and Demetrius.
In January 5th, 2015, Florida became the 36th state to legalize gay marriage. Why did you guys, and I'll ask you, Demetrius, first, why did you guys decide not to jump onto the bandwagon and go get in line with everybody else and put a ring on it?
Well, the ring was already there. He was actually the one who proposed to me.
What?
Go figure.
Wow.
Okay, I gotta say that is kind of a shock.
I know, because just the description of so far in
Seeing the start of this, where he was like, "No, okay,
I
I'm
was
going to
not
go along with
expecting
it."
that.
To being the one who actually proposed was pretty, amazing.
Because I thought you would have been down for the count the first week.
Things change.
Wow.
So, we didn't necessarily want to be like everybody else, even though. Even before the whole, okay, we can get married now, he had already planned it anyway. It was like...
Really?
Planning. Still planning.
However you want to put it. But he was taking, things off the internet, putting them in a folder.
Wow.
Picking out the colors, the flowers, the tables, the napkins. And he was like, it was already to that point. It was just like, when everybody was just like, oh, we can get married. It's like, well, we're really already married. It's just we don't need a piece of paper to justify us being together.
Yeah, a lot of heterosexual couples, they think the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's just a piece of paper and it's a ring. It's just symbols. It doesn't really have necessarily anything to do with your connection with your love. Yep. It's just a piece of paper and it's a ring.
My mother dated her friend for 30-something years, off and on. So, I mean... I saw that, so it's like, okay, well, hey, what's really the point? I know married people that really can't stand each other, but now they're locked into it legally, and it'll be more expensive to divorce than it would be to stay together, so they're just in it because it's convenient. So
and that's kind of unfortunate for both people who are involved in it, but I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I gotta ask a question.
Partners have been around for the longest. It's like the married thing is one of those things that just came along when people wanted ceremonies and stuff like that. Before, you just say, oh, this is my partner, and they knew you were together.
Exactly.
That was your your wife back then. But, So, saying he's my partner, to me, it just justifies that we're together.
Yeah.
You know, his name's on everything, my name's on everything. So it's like, it really do I need a piece of paper saying
To
from
show
a
it to
justice of
somebody
peace or a priest or whoever saying that, oh, okay, now that technically you're married now. We're already married.
Yeah.
But
Chris?
to get to that level,
Mhm.
because when you were planning, what year or what particular time did you find yourself planning in your head that wedding?
I
That's
think
a good
it was
question.
2 years ago.
I think it's a little bit more than that.
No, it was shortly after.
It's before we moved down here, wasn't it?
It was-
Let's just say between 5 to 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So between that
I
period,
think it's before that. He just started looking on the internet back then.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Because when he plans stuff, he plans to plan stuff. And it's like, just because you were looking at pictures on here, planning it out, you had to sort of think about this before then.
Being an artist,
knowing
yes, that's
you.
what we do. We construct things in our mind first.
This is why I say it was before we moved down here, because he had to think about doing this.
Okay. So during that period, so what was going through your mind? I mean, what was it that you were saying that it's time for us?
Actually, for me, it was more everybody kept asking us, when you get married? You've been together forever. When you get married, we can't picture you guys separate. And it's like, okay, well, maybe we should just go ahead and do it. Since, I mean, everybody's asking. You know, all of my friends have been asking. People, straight, gay, didn't matter.
Wow.
You know, even my coworkers that I work with, the straight ones, they find out we've been together for this long. They're like, oh, so when y'all get married? It's like, didn't really expect that, but okay, maybe.
Isn't there something how straight couples can look at a gay couple and see love and like that? That's sometimes mind blowing that they really support gay couples and they want to see you together. They want to see you happy.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's happened quite a bit actually.
Relationships. Maurice and Demetrius.
Well, some of my coworkers at my job, that it's like, oh, I didn't know. It's like, not that I wear signs saying that I'm a homosexual or bisexual or whatever. It's just that I don't gush about me being with somebody because we've been together forever.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, I mean that honeymoon phase.
And it's like, okay. Well, when I tell them, it's like, well, I can't keep a relationship for like 6 months. Well, that's your fault. You can't adjust enough to be with somebody. Then you may not be with them, but you got to give and take.
That was exactly it. It was an adjustment. Our first place together was interesting.
You care to elaborate on that? Because I mean, you put it out there, so I would like to know what it is.
Again, he said we're basically polar opposites. So, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to set the place up. I'm asking him about colors and
he probably doesn't care.
all this, and he's like, "Well, I don't care," but then I'll pick something out. I don't like that. Okay. Well, what don't you like about it? I don't know.
Those are the little quirks about
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
The little quirks took
some fine tweaking, and you know, I got to the point where I actually answered the question instead of saying I don't know, because me being a chef, it's one of those things, you like it or you don't like it, and sometimes you have no idea why you like it or don't like it.
Yeah.
It's just like,
it's a feeling.
Yeah.
And he just looking at me like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you talk to me about this? And it's like, I have no fucking clue. I just don't. It is what it is. It's either in or it's out. And, you know, it's like, well, we got to figure out how we're going to manage to live together. And it's like, most of the time I won't be at home anyway, so you'll be fine. If I don't like it, just go to return it. He looked at me like,
or not.
No, he's like, that ain't happening. It's like,
once I've made the executive decision, that's what it is.
Yeah, pretty much. And that's how it is to this day.
So we could pretty much draw a conclusion that it was an adjustment for you two to actually learn to cohabit together?
Oh yes.
Yes.
So what was the biggest
very much
challenge,
so.
Demetrius?
There was a lot of adjusting. To be truthfully honest, it's like I'm more of a cuddler, and I like being around my partner a lot, and him being in that creative space again. It's like, okay, I need you to go over there instead of being right next to me. It's like, what? You want me to do what? I'm at home, and you want me to move from where I am, sit next to you, trying to, be with you, to going over on the other side of the apartment because you need time to think. So I was acting like a little brat, and it was like, okay, we gonna have a problem, me and you.
Okay. So wait. Okay. So your love language and your love language had to be adjusted completely,
Yes.
or 50%, or how much?
I think we had to meet in the middle, and actually, I think to some degree, I think we're still meeting because we're changing as we get older, of course. So as you get older, things have to be modified, and your interests change, and your approach to life in general changes, and your views change. So I mean, you have to figure out, I think, faster where you are, and that way you can fill in your partner, because otherwise you're just going to grow apart and there's nothing left in common.
Exactly.
So I think that's kind of what we're going through now.
So I just wanted to let the audience know that as you were speaking, Demetrius, he was just shaking his head like he was having a seizure over there. So I
60-40.
60-40.
I to an extent, I did change more to fit the, I wouldn't say requirements, but to my special needs baby.
I was on the yellow bus. The little yellow bus.
Short one.
Special needs. Wow.
No. But being the type that's like more of a homebody, and like the being around, because I have a very big family and we're always around one another, and it's like moving in with just one person and wanting to be around them to figure out how we're going to exist with one another, and you can't really do that if I'm over here, you're over there, you always working, I'm always working, and I work a lot. So I want to make sure that it's like, okay, when I'm at home, we're together.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I'm at work, you can do whatever you want. Just be in your headspace, take care of this, it's like, when the mood strikes, I still need you to get lost. And it's like,
that's how artists work.
I know. That's why I said it was
no schedule.
In the beginning, it was very much 60-40 because I had to basically change my whole idea of what I need to do as a partner to be with him.
So was that difficult?
It was. It was very difficult for me. It was a fight, and not that we fought. It was just me.
Internal.
It was just me. It was just like, what am I going to do with this young man? What am I getting myself into? Because we lived together 3 months before we actually moved into our own place. Because I moved back from Cleveland, and his mom was gracious enough to let me stay there for the first 3 months until we found I was supposed to find a place, and then it turned into us finding a place. And it was like, even then it was like we were trying to figure out how to be together, because initially we wanted to move away at some point. So we moved in our first place, which wasn't the best.
We made it work, though.
Well, I was just saying, but we made it work, and we made it fit us in a situation. So it turned out to be in the end, it turned out to be a nice place, and we moved into a nicer place. And,
So, Demetrius, I noticed you mentioned that you were staying at Mauricius' mom's house. How did the family receive you?
It's mom. She's a Leo like I am.
Oh.
So, and she was a chef too on top of it.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So she was, she loved having me around. We always talked. We made fun of him, especially on his birthday. He had a lingerie party, and somehow somebody got drunk, I won't say how, but end up throwing up in his best friend's shoe, and then passing out naked in the middle of the hallway.
Wow,
it was my birthday. I'm allowed.
That sounded like you turned up.
It was.
That sounded like
it
was
was
a really
quite
good party.
hilarious.
I'm allowed.
And
Pictures?
I was about to ask.
No.
I was about to ask. I mean, I would have taken a picture at least.
I
put it
think
face
was
down.
before the cameras were
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
it
phone.
was. It was.
Oh, okay. Dude,
That's-
And even then, I wouldn't have took that picture because
The repercussions.
consequences. No. It would have just been too funny not to have shared it with other people. So
That's part of the fun.
it's probably better not to have that.
Because let me tell you,
Even though he's a sexy man naked. It was just
that wasn't the right
not the right
for it.
time.
Wasn't
I
the
just
right
couldn't.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
my
even
family
though-
loved him though. I mean, my grandmother, my grandmother, my mother, my sister, that's my core family. And then, uncles and, their wives and all that. My uncles actually liked him too, strangely, because they don't really care for me. So it's like, hey, go figure.
Oh my god.
So
it's
how did Demetrius' family? What was it?
He was
Maurice?
definitely afraid to introduce me to them initially. I guess me being so blunt and saying what I think.
I can see how that could make you nervous, Demetrius, because you don't know what's going to happen.
I was shaking in fear.
And with his family not all necessarily knowing at the time. And then on top of that, the ones that did know, some of them weren't as open as he would have liked or as he thought. Some of them actually were more open than he thought.
Yeah.
But that didn't
Talking about
actually,
my mother.
that didn't come out until after we met. But
Well, and there was a reason behind it. My second boyfriend that I was with, I introduced him to my mother, and my mother kind of just like flipped out. And it was just the worst thing ever. Not that she threw me out or anything, but she was very adamant that she was not happy, and she didn't like it, and being as outgoing as my mother is, it was just like a 360, and it was just like, I don't think I will ever do this again.
Wow.
So when it came time for, this was years down the road, where I was gonna cook for my family for Thanksgiving. No, it was Christmas. It was a Christmas party. So I was like, I don't know if I want to go down this road. My mother is like, at the time I still thought that she was just very unforgiving with the whole thing. So we packed up the car, went to Cleveland. I'm like looking at my cousin's looking at me, and everybody thought that I brought a baby home. Because back then he was very, well, not that he's not youthful looking, but he looked younger back then. Okay. So it's like, what cradle did you rob to bring this child home with you? So this is my youngest brother, and I'm like, what? What little boy? Looking around, he's like, that one. So, sir, he is not little. He is not young. Well,
but I mean, that's a compliment. He is a compliment.
He was a compliment. He's
Maurice.
A few months older than I am. I was like, that man is older than I am. He's like, you lying. My youngest brother is also gay. Like, you lying. And then call me a bitch on top of it.
Like, bitch, you lying.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, no, he's all right. He's of age, and so everybody's looking at him, and then the first one to approach was my Aunt Diane. She's like him. She's very outspoken.
Oh.
She's very blunt, and there's no gray area. So he was sitting there talking to her, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sweating bullets at this point. Sooner or later, that first shot's going to be fired, and I wasn't sure which one was going to fire it. So it's like a few minutes passed. They were still talking, so I was like, okay, I guess I won't have too much to worry about as long as my Aunt Diane's okay, because she's I don't want to say it, but she's my favorite. You know,
Yeah.
if she don't like you and my mama don't like you, you just out. It's not gonna happen.
But he wasn't factoring in that my grandmother was a very dominant woman. So, I'm used to dealing with dominant women that are outspoken. That's where I get it from.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I was about to say
So, growing up, that's all of my family's like that. My uncles, they're all like that. The whole family is just very outspoken and very matter of fact. So, when I speak to someone else that's very matter of fact, it actually puts me at ease because then I don't have to tiptoe and dance around, which I don't usually do anyway. But, I don't have to water down what I'm trying to say. So it was a great first meeting.
Relationships. Dwight and Richard.
How do you know that you love one another? And it's a two-part question.
Yes.
How do you know that you love one another? And how did you know that Dwight was the one that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with?
I knew because we got to the point where no matter who was sick, the other one was always there to take care of us. No matter who happened to be laid off at the time, the other one always financially supported the other. And we just don't like being apart. And you feel good when we're together.
I know, it makes
Kind of touching right here.
I know.
Not to sound too sappy, but that's the answer.
I like that answer.
And I think so many of the gay young, the community, I think that's what we really want. But some of us may not know that that's what we want. So sometimes you go looking in places that you shouldn't go, simply because that's what you truly, truly want. And not a lot of people admit that to themselves, that that's what they want.
Wow.
So, Mr. Dwight, how do you know that you love one another? And how did you know that Richard was the one that you wanted to spend the rest of your life with?
Well, I think it's because you always have the desire to be with that person, and also, regardless of what happens, you feel that they're part of you. That your mate is part of you, and you always want them to have the best, and you do what you have to do to make things work. Like with Richard, we just grew together and just became a unit in the sense, and the love was there, and just like when we were away, it was our friends had twin beds in the guest room. And it was just
Can
like,
you imagine the two of us in one bed?
All
One twin.
and it was funny because I crawled over in his bed, right? And look, Richard's a big boy. And it was just like I'd never been in a room where if we were going to go to sleep together and we're in the same room, then we weren't in the same bed.
Oh my God.
But we could not do the twin.
Wow.
We could not do the twin bed.
No, it was like an hour or two, and that's enough.
Yeah, that was
Wow.
But that's a beautiful thing when you really don't want to sleep apart. That you
No.
feel like you're so much a part of the other person.
I love that. I love that.
I know.
You inspire to that. You have something to inspire to.
I mean, we've broken up before.
Oh, sure.
For
I'm
months,
sure.
and we always come back together.
See, the struggles.
Yeah.
I think people are missing the struggles. Everything is not always bliss, but as the old saying goes, if that person leaves and it's meant to be, they'll come right back.
Yeah.
And you guys came right back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the struggles,
Yeah.
just
It was
like
mostly my fault.
it was mostly your fault,
Probably.
and you admit that.
Of course. I know who I am.
Okay.
You know, and
Honestly.
yeah. But the thing is that don't get in a relationship with a person and think that you're going to change them.
Yeah.
That's the worst attitude to have.
That's true.
It's the worst attitude. You can compromise on both sides, but don't think that you're going to completely change that person and make them into somebody you want them to be.
That's true.
So that's
Those are young mistakes.
Well, what happens is
The thing is that nobody's perfect.
No.
Okay? We both make mistakes. So how can I accuse him or condemn him for his mistakes when I know I'm not perfect? So, if you're willing to forgive each other, then it works, but some people just aren't willing to forgive and forget. Sometimes you don't forget, but if you can forgive,
So this actually is feeding into the next question that I was curious about. When it comes to arguments, a lot of times you're able to, if you pay attention, you're able to see yourself through the other person's eyes inside of that argument. So, Richard, what is it that you've learned about yourself in this process of melting in with Dwight, with the arguments that you've had? What have you learned about yourself from this man?
that's a hard one.
Good question.
That I can be stubborn. That I can be spoiled. That's basically it, yeah.
Stubborn and spoiled.
Yeah.
Those are the common ones. I think that's it. That's me too.
Yeah.
and break things.
Oh, really? Oh, the angry toss.
No, not like that. Just break up stuff.
Like I can touch something and it just automatically
It shatters.
That could be his energy at that moment. Just,
Superpower. That's your superpower.
I believe that. There's some kind of energy in it.
I believe in energy.
Yeah.
I do believe in that dramatically. I do. Wow.
So, Dwight, what have you learned from this young man sitting here?
A lot of things. I think that I am like an atom that with protons and neutrons, and I'm always busy, and this place, that place, up and down and around, and he's a calming force. So he balances me. People think that they another person will make them happy, but yeah, he makes me happy. But the thing is that we just connect, and I think that the two of us, we balance each other out.
I think he pulls me out of my shell, and I keep him from going out in space.
And it works.
Well, come back down to earth.
And I even see that in the energy that I'm seeing is
Yeah.
that Dwight, you're much more lively. You're probably the one who puts together the parties, and,
Yeah.
and Richard, you're the one who probably even
Does all the work.
cleans up. I just kind of got that just from watching the two of you, because
He does.
you fit
I
Does
well.
the dishes and
Oh, wow.
cleans up.
Well, he'll be out there smoking a cigarette.
Look at all the thing I clean up. Stay outside.
And you start to learn that about yourself. So my next question would be roles inside the relationship. Richard, what role do you think that you take, or do you have roles inside the relationship?
Yeah, there are roles. I kind of keep it financially stable.
Oh,
That's not shocking,
Yeah.
because you
Ooh.
seem like like you said, you're the calming force. You're the one.
Oh.
Like he likes to cook. He's more creative. Okay, he's, to put it simply, he's the creative one, I'm the analytical one. Like, I always got to see what the cause and effect of something is. Where he just wants to do things because it makes him happy, rather than looking at the
what it takes, the work that it takes to go into.
do it.
I totally see that.
Or the long-term affection.
I
or
totally
the repercussions of doing something.
Okay.
I look at it.
And I sit down and I kind of try to figure it out. Well, that really won't work. But he'll be like, look, it's what I want to do.
Let's call it is.
Yeah, now we just have to make it happen. It's just what I want. Let's just make it happen.
See what happens later.
It makes it fun. That's spontaneity.
But I think in terms of Dwight really thinking like that, it gives you, Richard, something to work on in your mind to see how to make it work. He gives you the problem and you fix the problem.
Not necessarily.
In a way, like in a way to look at it
all the time.
Or in a way to look at it and say, okay, well, let's just do this first to give the steps and how to get to that point of view, to get to where.
Or if it's just a ridiculous idea.
And you just say no right off the bat.
And I hate to say I told you so.
I'm kind of closer to the white though.
And I'm closer to Richard. I think we're one
I
of
can
the
see
same.
I can see myself doing something like that.
Okay, so Dwight, we're just gonna ask you in terms of, because you guys have been together for years.
24.
Yeah.
24.
Yes, that's a long time. So what piece of advice would you give couples looking for longevity in their relationship?
It has to start out with the right couple. First of all, you have to choose the right person, and you have to be responsible in your choice. That, like I said, you can't just necessarily choose someone because of how they look, or what you think. You can't do that just because of their body or how good sex is. You have to weigh all the things about the person and figure you have to know who you are before you can choose a partner. Okay. If you don't know who you are and where you want to go and what you want to do, it's like, how dare you pull somebody else into your madness?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. You're absolutely right.
And like when we met, it was really the second time we had met, because I had met Richard 20 years prior to that.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Right. But we ended up meeting again 20 years later.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sounds like a
almost
lifetime.
20. I think it was up close to 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what did you think about that? Because I'm curious. It's like things happen for a reason, and I've always been the person to think that everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
You met 20 years prior, and then you meet again.
Mm-hmm.
What did that do to you? What was your mind?
I didn't realize
We
that
didn't
he was.
realize it at the
Didn't realize it at the beginning.
Then we talked about things that happened in our past. And it's like, you're the one.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I don't think I've really sat with a couple that's happened where they met and then they met again under different
Right, but
circumstances.
at the second meeting, I didn't realize who
Yeah,
he was,
Yeah, okay.
and vice versa.
Richard, what advice would you give to couples who are looking for the longevity that
Again, you
Richard?
have to make sure. I think it's very important that you choose the right person, and for all the right reasons. You have to love You have to love them, all warts and all. Good. And you have to be willing to struggle. You have to be willing to go through the bad times and the good times if you feel as if that person's worth it. I mean, if you find out right away they're not worth it, no use in even trying. But if they have the qualities that you're looking for, you stick with it, and eventually it comes easy.
It's easier
Yeah, it's so much easier.
later.
I believe it.
You know, I mean, the first what 7
Yeah.
years of our relationship, it was volatile.
So,
You know,
we never physically fought.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of arguments, And I think most of our arguments were because we had so much disagreements. There were people putting things in our ear.
Oh, outside interference.
Outside interference. Okay.
This concludes part 1 of our interview. And again, we love to thank the couples again on behalf of the Brothaspeak Podcast. And again, we got some great more things coming at you in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for part 2 for Black, Gay, Marriage, and Relationships. Take care. Have a great one.